All right, so it is time for our class to get started. So welcome everyone. My name is Allie. I am a doctor of physical therapy and a nationally certified Pilates instructor. I've been practicing for the last 5 years in Boston. And I'm excited to introduce to you today the class series on lower back pain. It'll be a 30-minute class and it's mostly movement based. So we're gonna do some strengthening, some stretching. We will talk about ergonomics a little bit at the end and then save some time for Q&A. So if any questions come up throughout this class, go ahead and write them in the chat. I will review them all. And then if you guys can make sure to stick around at the end, we will show you how to use the feedback app. Feedback is really, really important to us to give you the best program possible. So we do look at it all. We make little changes from week to week. And then we will do a community breakout room. So if you guys want to hang around just to socialize, it'll just be a couple of minutes. I'll be on, so you guys are welcome to stick around for that as well. So for today's class, I want this to feel good for you. I want it to feel good for your body. I'm going to give a bunch of modifications and some challenges. Take what feels good for your body. Work within your range of motion. There's no right or wrong, and you'll get the most out of this class if you really listen to your body and take what feels best. So with that being said, we're going to start lying down on the mat. I'm going to join you guys there in just a moment, but I want to make sure that everybody gets set up. So go ahead and lie down on your back. Find a comfortable position, allowing your head to rest down. Like I said, if you know you need a pillow here, you can grab that and rest it underneath your head. And maybe it's a lot of pressure to have your legs extended all the way on the mat right off the bat. You can bend your knees and place them flat on the floor if that feels more comfortable. And from here, we're just going to start to scan our body from the very top of your head all the way down to your feet. Taking in any differences that you might feel from side to side, any spots of tension, and just letting your body go, letting your body melt down on the mat. I know for most of us, this is the end of the day, so really letting yourself relax. And as you pay attention and tune into your body, start to notice your breath. Taking a big deep breath in through the nose and exhaling that breath out through your mouth. And as you take those inhales in, just notice if your breath is up high in your shoulders. See if you can send it down lower into your belly and wide out to the side in your ribs. And feeling that expansion of your breath down low through your belly, it can actually help to relax some muscles around your back, and it can help to strengthen some of the deeper core muscles that stabilize our spine. So just by working on that breath pattern, you've already done something good for your back today. Try one more deep breath like that, and I'm going to join you guys down on the mat here. If your legs are all the way extended, go ahead and bend both of your knees, planting your feet down flat on the mat. We're going to start with our very first gentle pelvic motion to start to move our lower back. So gently rock your pelvis front to back, thinking about closing the space underneath your low back and then opening up that space. If this is the first time you've moved your lower back today, it might be a little bit stiff to start, and that's okay, that's normal. Just work within your body's comfortable range of motion. Hopefully, as you move a little bit here, it gets a little bit easier, it gets a little bit looser. So just gently rocking front to back, noticing that gentle movement of the pelvis, and we'll do 2 more like this. And last time, and settle somewhere right in the middle. From here, walk your knees together and your feet together. Allow your arms to rest down by your side about a 45-degree angle and start to rock your knees side to side. You want to try and actually keep your legs together as you do this. That will help the stretch go into your back and less in your hips. And so as you rock side to side, it's okay for your hips to lift, but you want to keep your shoulders down. And you're only reaching the legs over as far as you can go without any stress or strain in your back. So it's just gentle, it's comfortable. All we're trying to do is introduce some movement to our spine. Believe it or not, our spines actually really like to move, just in certain gentle ranges of motion. We'll try 2 more like this, and 1 more on each side. Good. Settle somewhere right in the middle, and then go ahead and separate your feet about hip distance apart, and then walk your heels in towards your bottom close enough so that you can tap your heels with your fingertips. We're going to set up for our first strengthening exercise of the day. So from this position, push down into your big toe, pinky toe, and heel, and lift your hips up to the ceiling in a bridge. Now this is a hip exercise, a glute exercise. So bring your hands to your glutes. Make sure that they're actually working. We do this because our glutes support our spine when we're bending, when we're picking things up, even when we're walking. If you feel pressure in your low back, draw your rib cage down like you're connecting your ribs towards your hips. Now we're going to soften and roll our spine down 1 vertebrae at a time, and then curl and lift our spine up 1 vertebrae at a time. So you can imagine your spine here like a string of pearls. You're picking up 1 pearl at a time and gently placing each pearl back down in that same position. And again, this might start off feeling really tight, maybe even a little uncoordinated. This is a big stretch for our spine to do this rolling, articulating motion. So just go slow, be gentle, and allow yourself to breathe. There's not a right or wrong way to breathe here. Just make sure you are breathing. Try 2 more like that. And 1 more time, we're going to melt all the way down. Now, for those of you who've been taking my class or feel comfortable with progressions, we're going to try a single leg bridge. If not, I'd like you guys to do a second set of that hip roll that we just did. So go ahead and lift into your double leg bridge, arms down by your side. You want your hips to be level here. So imagine both of your hips at the same height and bring the right leg to tabletop. Now, keeping the right leg still, you're going to drop the left hip down and lift. So really both of my hips are lowering and lifting at the same pace, but all of the work is in my left leg. So if I were to put a level across my pelvis, it would still read level. 2 more. Last time, lift up, plant the right foot down, stay lifted in that bridge, bring your left foot to tabletop. Same thing, lower your hips and lift. I really like to use these single side exercises like single leg bridge to feel the difference in strength from side to side. And believe it or not, most of us have a dominant leg as well, but you can really start to tune into maybe where you need to spend a little bit more time if one side's a little weaker than the other. Try 2 more. And last time, plant that left foot down, drop your hips down, and take a little rest. So we just worked to strengthen the back side of our body. We're going to now work to stabilize and strengthen the front side of our spine, our core. So from here, bring your right knee in towards your chest, hug that knee in gently, stretch your left leg out long. Holding that left leg steady, you can choose, if this feels like pressure on your back, to lift it up a little bit higher. If it feels really easy, you can lower it down, but then we switch the legs in space and switch the legs in space. So I want you guys to imagine I put a string around both of your toes. You're trying to break that string by stretching your 2 legs in the opposite direction. So you get a really nice little hip stretch here. Well, you also get a little bit of core work by trying to keep your trunk nice and steady and still on the mat. Allow your head to rest back. We try 3, 2, last time, hug both knees in. Now we're going to build on this, but if that felt like a lot, stick with that single leg stretch exercise. Otherwise, reach your right leg up to the ceiling. You're going to hold your hands up as high as you can on that right leg. Stretch your left leg out long, and we scissor the legs to switch. So this gives us a little deeper hamstring stretch here, while still working that core stability. Now you can always hold behind your knees or even softly bend your knees if that feels better for your body. So just notice that. Try and be powerful as you switch the legs in space. Go for 4 and 3, last 2, last time, hug both knees in and gently rock your spine side to side. Now we're going to use that roll to roll ourselves all the way up to seated position and hang out here for a moment. So once you're up and sitting, reach your hands behind you, maybe 6 to 12 inches, and push your chest up tall. So I want you to actually use your hands to give your spine some support. We're going to cross our right ankle on top of our left thigh. So right away, this should probably feel like a stretch on your right outer hip. But if it's too much, walk your left leg away from you. If you want to deepen that stretch, you walk the left leg in. So you are in total control of how deep that stretch feels. And I want you to try and find that sweet spot where it feels like a stretch, but it's not a strain or painful on the outside of your right hip. Notice if you've started to collapse your chest. Keep pushing into your arms, opening up the shoulders, and that will actually give you a deeper stretch, but it also puts your spine in a better position. So we'll hold and take one more deep breath here. And then slowly go ahead and walk your left foot out. You're going to plant your right foot down on the floor, so you're keeping it across your body. Now take your left hand outside of your right thigh, walk your right hand backwards, and try a gentle spine twist. Again, it's easy to end up slumped here, so push into your back hand, your right hand, to keep your chest tall, even if that makes your range of motion smaller. And then we shake it out, we'll come through center, bend both of your knees again, reach your hands behind you, and press your chest up tall. You're gonna cross your left ankle on top of your right thigh. And then same thing, you can walk your right leg out, you can walk your right leg in closer, find that sweet spot for the stretch on the outside of your left hip. Keep pushing your chest open and tall. Shoulders are broad. Notice if this side is different than the other side, and that's okay. I'm gonna come take a quick peek at the camera as you guys hold that one because I know this stretch can be a little tricky. So I see a lot of you guys here have your calf muscle on your right knee. Try and slide it away so it's really your ankle on the knee. And that's gonna give you a bit of a deeper stretch. If it's too much, you can always back off. Good. And then from here, we're gonna gently straighten the right leg, allow your left foot to rest down on the floor, crossed over your right leg, and then right arm to the outside of your left thigh, open up that left hand, and get taller than you've ever been in your seated posture. So our spine, it actually can feel quite good with twisting. Twisting is a big complaint I hear with back pain, but twisting often feels crummy when it's combined with being bent forward. When we can actually keep our spine tall, it does twisting pretty well. So we'll go ahead and come out of that posture, and we're gonna add to the hip stretching component on an all fours position. Now, the reason we're stretching our hips is because our hips move so closely with the movement of our lower back. And so if our hips are more flexible, our lower back is not stressed by those movements quite as much. It doesn't have to do as much with the work. So we'll set up in that all fours position. Now, if you have sensitivity to your knees, this is a great place to add the pillow in underneath your knees. And if you have wrist sensitivity, to come down onto your forearms. So either of those options are fine. But once you're here, we're gonna start to draw giant circles with your body. So I want you to imagine you're putting your weight in one hand, the other hand, one knee, and the opposite knee. And try and really sit your hips back, reaching around, and then forward, reaching around. And just notice how one hip maybe feels a little bit crunchier, more sore than the other. You can just work within what's comfortable for your body. And then we're going to change direction, reverse that circle. Re-changing the circle all the way back and around. pressing into your hands equally. Maybe this direction feels a little bit easier, maybe not. And we'll do 2 more here. And 1 more time. And then we're going to lower all the way down onto your stomach. So resting your hands down flat on the mat. Now, when you lay on your stomach, it's a position of extension, and sometimes that's a lot for our back. So you can put a pillow under your hips to modify a little bit here if you need. You can also separate your feet a little wider than the mat. That will also help to alleviate any pressure you feel in your lower back. So hands go flat under your shoulders, and we're going to start to press and lift our lower back up off the floor. So maybe really you can only lift your upper back, and that's fine. Just work within that range. Maybe you feel comfortable enough to press all the way back and find a full spine extension. So go easy, go slow. Most of the work here should be in your arms, okay? So sometimes we want to lift with our back. Let your back relax here. Let your arms do a little bit of the work. And if you do have shoulder sensitivity, just take your hands out a little bit wider. That will give you some better support here as you lift and lower and allow you to still get that good stretch in your back. Notice if your shoulders are hiking up by your ears, you want to draw the shoulders down and away, lifting and lowering 3 more times. Last 2. And 1 more. And we'll gently lower all the way back down, this time pushing ourselves up and back to round our spine into a child's pose. Now, if you have restrictions in your hips or your knees and you can't sit back as far, that's okay. This is still a good stretch for you. Just go as far as you can, walk your fingertips forward, and allow your head to rest down on the mat if possible. Take a deep breath in through your back, expanding the back of your rib cage. And then very slowly, we're going to come on up to a seated position. So we're going to build on some of those movements going into a plank. And I'm going to show you 2 options for that plank here. So you can be up on your hands and your toes. You can also be down on your hands and knees. Now, we're really not going to be holding the plank for very long. It's going to be more movement-based to get some stretching in. So once you guys are ready, find whatever is comfortable for your body. And when you're in that plank position, grow longer through your spine. So imagine me pumping little bits of air in between every single one of your vertebrae. From here, we lift our hips up to the ceiling, push back, find a stretch in our hamstrings, and then we shift forward, return to the plank. Down on the knees, we push back into that child's pose, and then shift forward with our hips once again. Push back into your child's pose, and shift forward. We do 3 more here. That's it, guys. Last 2. All the way forward, pick up the chest. 1 more time, push back. Shift all the way forward and drop down. Take a little rest. Awesome work there. Okay, so far we have moved our spine forward. We've moved our spine backwards and rotated our spine. We're going to now move our spine sideways. So I'm sitting now on my left hip with my knees out to the side. I've had a couple questions in earlier classes saying, well, this position feels really pinchy for my hips. You can always sit up on a pillow. Sometimes that helps. But if you need to straighten one of your legs or even just keep them both crossed in front of you, that works fine too. There's just going to be a little different stretch for your hips. So once you're in this position, open up your wingspan, take up space. Chest is tall. We're going to start to dive our arms up and over, finding that nice, beautiful windmill position. Imagine like you're sitting up against a wall. You feel your arms just spiraling up and over. If you have shoulder sensitivity, go ahead and add a soft bend to your elbows. And you can imagine your spine moving kind of like an accordion here, opening and closing. We'll try 2 more like this. And the next time my left hand is down, I'm going to pause with my right arm over. Notice if your left shoulder is hiked by your ear, try and draw it down away from your ear. And then we're gonna rotate our chest down to tap the right hand to the floor and rotate it back open to the ceiling. So gently rotating, twisting down, and then opening back up. So I mentioned to you guys earlier, we did twisting, rotation for our low back. This is twisting and rotation for our upper back. Okay, so it's a little bit different. That's why it might feel different here. We're gonna do 2 more. And 1 more time, open all the way up. Now reach your hands behind you and we're gonna kick the legs around to the other side if you can. Otherwise, you can just move your legs in any way that's comfortable. We're sitting down on our right hip with our legs off to the side. You can always assume that crisscross position or sit up on a pillow. Open up that wingspan, take up space. Big proud chest here. And then we start to dive our arms up and over, finding that same nice side stretch on both sides. Notice if you're starting to crunch forward, try and stay up tall as though someone is pulling the top of your head up to the ceiling. We have 4, 4, and 3. Beautiful here, last 2. Good, guys. 1 more time. We're gonna pause with that right arm on the floor, left arm reaching up and overhead. From here, turn your chest to face down, reach for the floor, and then open it back up. Now, you might not be able to reach the floor. That's okay. You're just turning your chest down and turning your chest up as though you were gonna reach for the floor with that left hand. And again, we're stretching into our upper back here. Notice if your right shoulder has hiked up by your ear, try and pull your shoulder blade down your back like you're tucking it into your opposite back pocket. 2 more. And we'll do 1 more time here and then come all the way on up. So we have 1 more stretch we're gonna work through today, which is for our hip flexor muscle. And so our hip flexor, it starts down at the knee, it comes all the way up, and it actually goes right through our stomach and inserts on the lumbar spine. And so if our hip flexor is tight, it might be pulling on our lumbar spine all day. And so that can get a little bit uncomfortable. So I'm gonna show you guys this stretch kneeling. Bear with me if you have sensitivity to kneeling. I'll show you how to modify in just a moment. So go ahead and put your right foot forward, left foot back, as though you have a 90-degree bend in your front leg and your back leg. From here, you're gonna square off your hips. So rotate your left hip forward, right hip back, pick up your chest tall, get as long as you can with your spine, engage your left glute muscle, and then start to slowly bend into your right leg. And as you bend forward, you should start to feel that stretch in the front of your left thigh. If you don't feel that, try and pick your chest up a little bit more and really press the hips forward. We're gonna deepen that stretch now, reaching your left arm up towards the right side. So you can add a little side bending. Now, if you are uncomfortable kneeling, you can do this stretch with the back leg lifted and straight. And you probably need something to hold on to here. This tends to be pretty wobbly. So I recommend having a wall nearby or a chair. But same setup, you're just lifting that back knee and you will definitely feel quite a stretch across the front of your hip. So we'll take 1 more breath here and then we're gonna switch our legs. So this time walking the left foot forward, and to square off your hips, you rotate your right hip forward, left hip back, pick your chest up nice and tall, engage your right glute muscle, your right butt muscle, and then slowly hinge forward into your left leg until you feel the stretch in the front of your right hip. Pick your chest up tall. Now you can add in your arm if you did so on the other side. So your right arm goes up and you reach towards the left, like you're gonna reach your left hand down towards the floor. For my friends standing who are uncomfortable with kneeling, you can pick up that back knee. You're in this long lunge position, still the same form cues, chest is tall, and you can even add that side bending if you have something to hold on to. We'll take one more deep breath here and then let it go. Nice job there, guys. So I'm going to come a little closer to the camera so we can talk about our ergonomic discussion today. So every week I will talk about a different topic, and I thought it might be fun today to discuss standing desks. So I know they're trendy. A lot of us have them in our offices right now, and I get questions all the time, should I be using one? I think for a lot of back conditions, you would benefit greatly from a standing desk because it allows our spine to follow its natural curvature. So when we sit, our spine is sort of bent forward and flexed. That's not really the natural position for our spine. And so a lot of people do really well with a standing desk. That being said, going from sitting 8 hours a day to standing 8 hours a day is like running a marathon with no training. There is an endurance factor to doing it. And I know standing doesn't seem hard, but our body does have to adjust both flexibility-wise and endurance of some of those little stabilizing muscles to doing standing for a big portion of the day. So what I recommend is starting off with maybe an hour each day. And it doesn't even have to be an hour at once. You could do 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the afternoon, or even if you had tons of flexibility to change your work setup, you could do 10 minutes of every hour. I've even had some patients who will do, every time they get a phone call, they'll be able to stand and walk a little bit and then go back to their desk. So another question I get is, okay, well, how can I set that up at home? I would recommend finding the tallest surface that you have, maybe like an ironing board, your countertop, a desk, even a bureau, and then putting your computer on top of boxes until it gets high enough so that your screen is at eye level. And so for a lot of us, that's much higher than we think that it needs to be. I use a couple of shoe boxes on top of my countertop, and to get it up to eye height, it's like 3 or 4 shoe boxes. So one of the tricky things is once you get to that point, often, especially if you're using a laptop, you're kind of typing up here. So I think it's much more important to have the screen height at an appropriate height than your keyboard, because if your keyboard is low and so is your screen, even if you're standing, you're still kind of bending over to see your screen. So I would recommend getting some sort of wireless keyboard, external keyboard, so that you can type at a regular height. If that's still not possible, just take breaks from your typing and just give your shoulders a little rest, because that will get fatiguing over the course of the day. I know there are some awesome height adjustable desks. It looks like somebody wrote one here in the chat that Costco has a really reasonable one. So I always think that's great. But I do recommend that if you're thinking about working from home with a standing desk, try it first. Make sure it works for your routine. Make sure your back feels okay when you do that. There are a couple types of back conditions that might not really like standing all day. So just give that a shot and see what works for your body. And then I hope what you guys take from class today is that our backs actually really like to move. And so no matter if you even stood all day, it's really good to break up your day a couple times with some of the stretches that you learned today. You don't have to do all 30 minutes of it every single day, but take 1 or 2 of the favorite stretches you liked from today, and you can mix those in little bits and pieces. And just breaking up your day like that makes a big impact on how your back feels by the end of the day. So I know there's a lot of questions already in the chat. I want to make sure that I can get to some of those. If you guys have other questions, go ahead and start to write them in, and I'll see what we can answer. Let's see. Should I be bracing my core as I sit or stand? It's kind of a loaded question. Yes and no. So the muscles that stabilize our spine, technically speaking, should kind of fire faster than the way our brain tells our muscles to work. And so when we work through all of these core strengthening exercises, part of the goal is to improve the brain connection to your muscles. So not only are you strengthening, but you're actually improving the pathways of how your brain decides to use certain muscles. And so in the beginning of learning how to stabilize your spine, you might have to think about that and brace a little bit. But the goal over time is not to have to really brace your spine. It's for your muscles to respond fast enough to do it on their own. So I think with a little bit of practice, your muscles will actually learn and they'll actually do all of the protecting they need to do on their own time. So when I use a standing desk, I tend to put more pressure in one leg. Any tips to avoid this? I find that's quite common. One of the things I really like to do is to stand on a soft surface. I don't know if any of you guys have been to physical therapy before. You've used like those foam pads that challenge your balance. I actually really like to have people stand on those because they create micro little movements so that it's really hard for you to stand on one leg for a long time. It kind of makes you shift your body weight side to side. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy. You can even get one of those fatigue mats that come with some of the standing desks, and that softer surface is going to help you distribute your weight a little bit better. I will add my Instagram on here. There's a question about that. I will put that on here. I do post videos from time to time. Let's see. Any recommendations for people with back spasms, bulging disc, and hip pain? So those are all different things, and they might come from all different conditions. I think everything we did today is appropriate for those conditions. You may just need to modify your range of motion a little bit. So listen to your body, but everything we did today is appropriate. Any tips specifically for SI pain, sacroiliac pain? Yeah, so everything we worked on today is also good for sacroiliac pain. But what I will say is that sometimes sacroiliac pain, and for those of you who are not sure what that means, it's your sacrum, your lower, kind of like your tailbone area, and where your sacrum meets your lower back. Pain there can sometimes be exacerbated by single leg activities. So for example, today when we did the bridging and then we tried the single leg bridging, it can be a little bit irritating at times to do the single leg work. It's something that is a goal that you want to work up to build strength. But if you're having acute SI pain, I would stick to things that are more double leg focused where you're using both legs together. I have a question. Why does my back hurt more with standing? There are certain spine conditions sometimes that are more painful with standing. I would recommend, if that bothers you more, to follow up with your doctor and just have a further workup to see what's going on. Sometimes our backs hurt when we stand for a long period of time though, just because those core muscles that stabilize our spine are weak. So practicing the things we did today, we just did a little bit of strengthening today. I think Pilates, of course, I'm biased. Pilates can be really great to help continue to strengthen your core as well. So I want to be sensitive to everybody's time. There's a couple questions in here about neck stretches. I do have a separate class that's on neck and shoulder pain, so you guys can look back on the recording on that one as well. This class is recorded. It's going to be posted tomorrow on the Perks at Work website. And I think the easiest way to access that recording is to go to my instructor page, and then you can see past recorded videos. So I'm going to pass the torch over to Harsh so he can go over our feedback app. And I would love if you guys can leave feedback. And then please stick around if you have any interest in doing our community breakout rooms. I'll be in them. I'd love to talk to some more of you guys. But thank you all for joining, and I hope to see you again in a class in the future. And for those of you who are asking me about my Instagram, I'll post that here in case you would like to see any of my other videos.